today. Find out if it's right for
The
you.
views expressed on contacttalkradio.com are those of the guest hosts and callers, and not necessarily of this station, its management, or other advertisers.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's because I make it that way. Every morning I get up, I decide it's going to be a groovy day, and before my feet hit the floor, it's already going to be that way. And whatever happens, whatever changes, I just think back. It all started out groovy. It means it's going to end groovy. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Before we get started, I always like to get myself centered and situated. You can tell from behind me, I got busy things going on and I have a very busy background, but I like to get centered and situated. And let's just take a minute and think about what it is that you tap into to get power. What is it that you tap into? It could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the dude, spirit, the universe, whatever it is. Focus on that just for a minute. It might even be the tree outside your window. But focus on that just for a second, and let's take in a deep breath and really think about that connection that brings you peace and solace. And let that breath out with a big ah, and just let your essence flow up through your heart center, your throat chakra, and right out of your speaker box out into the universe. Let's do that one more time. This time, think about your dreams, visions, and goals. What is it that you aspire to be, do, or have? In with a deep breath. Anchor those dreams, visions, and goals and let it out with a big and just let that flow all the way out of your speaker box out into the universe. And here's the deal. Allow the universe the opportunity to make those come true for you, because it will happen. I'm centered and situated. I'm not looking at my background, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
How are you today, my friend?
It's a beautiful day in Seattle. So
my favorite day, because I get to hang out with you. I get to hang out with some cool people with some cool thoughts and ideas. And it's well, I'll say it again. It's a groovy day.
It is a groovy day. And I get the feeling that you like to just hang out. You like to hang out with people. You are a people person, right?
That and you know, people have some great thoughts and ideas about how you can step forward and get out of your comfort zone and become on the edge of your own becoming with the great thoughts and ideas that you and I present. So, and you know, just cutting edge thoughts, and it just keeps me excited, and I love to do the radio show too. I have to say,
and you know, the thing to that is listening. Isn't it interesting that so many people don't listen to each other these days? And having guests on our show where we get to listen to those ideas, right? And they have a stage to do that in. I think that's really cool because it's not happening a lot other places.
Well, and we can look at it like this too. You just from being a host on this show, you've got multitude of ideas and directions and thoughts. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. It's definitely expanded not only my network of people, but it has expanded my mind and my ideas and opportunities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I say, it comes from being in a place where you can share your ideas, but also the second most important part of that is listening to the ideas of others, not assuming that you don't agree with them before you even hear their ideas.
If it works for you, it works. If not, the seed has been planted and you might be able to enjoy that flower later on in life. So that's kind of the idea. You have some really cool things going on. You're going to create a book, manifest this book that children are going to be the authors of in. Tell us a little more.
Yes, we are going to allow our students, our public speaking students, another venue to share their voice. And we are asking, we're going to limit it to 40 of our students, age 10 to 17, or actually up to 18. We're going to give them an opportunity to write a chapter. It could be a story, fictional or non-fictional. Maybe they want to tell about something they really know about and share an informational type message. We also have very creative students, and perhaps they want to write a poem. Who knows? They can use their chapter to get out whatever message they would like, and then we're going to compile these chapters into a book. How can you imagine when you were a young person that
I wrote a book.
that you could have been the author of a book before you even got into high school or before you got into college? Yeah, that would have been awesome, because it was always one of my lifetime dreams was to author a book. And I know that I'm not alone in that, and that there are lots of kids that feel that way. So this is really exciting. It's going to cost us $10,000 to get 40 kids into this book. So we need help. Some of these kids can maybe raise some funds themselves, but there are others who cannot. And so if anyone out there has a soft heart for kids and who wants to help them get these stories out, donate to the Speak Feed Lead project. Any donation that you make this month is going to go directly toward that compilation book. So we ask for your sincere donation there and help a kid out. That'd be really awesome.
Go to speakfeedlead.org and you can find the button. That's really cool. And you know what? With 40 authors, first thing that came to my mind is just think of all that circulation you get right out of the gate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they're going to be able to sell their own book. I mean, think about the entrepreneurial skills they're going to gain by being able to sell, market. We're going to have book signings where they can go and they can talk about their message. Wow. They might even get on some podcasts with their message. And here's another secret that I haven't told my students yet. We're also going to be partnering with a TEDx event planner for kids. So after their book is written, they're going to be able to get on the TEDx stage with their message
and practice their speaking skills that they learned at Speak Feed.
What we're all about. So it's really cool. It's a really fun project to be part of, and anybody who donates is going to get their name in the book. They're going to be recognized as a supporter of the project. So.
Wow, you've thought this through.
Yeah. In fact, if you want to take out sort of an ad for your business in the book, we can certainly work that out as well.
Jackie's on it. Wow. I see those gears just turning. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Sometimes they get a little bit, rusty.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. You can go there, and any links that we talk about on the show today, there's one up there already that takes you to our guest, but we might talk about some more. They will be right there after today's show. We'll go in and make sure that they are posted. And while you're on the website, sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter goes out once a week. It highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and Jackie always writes a blog post about the show. And it always is amazing for me to read that and just say, oh, wow, she got all that out of that. Where'd that come from? No, I'm just kidding. But you can
sometimes think, wow, she's coming from way out of left field. Do you ever think that?
No, and it's pretty cool because she is prolifically writing a blog post every week. And I think that is honing her skills too. So it's pretty cool. Everybody's a winner with Life Mastery Radio Talk Show. Let's see what else. Oh, you can find Jackie's book there. You can find my book there. The links go to Amazon. Check out our books. We have some really cool books, and we know that you will just love them. And after you do love them, please give us some feedback. Go back to Amazon and let us know what you think.
Can I throw something in here that was really interesting over the weekend? over the weekend, I spoke at a conference for a direct sales team for a company called Norwex. And so I was speaking to this group there was probably 35 people there. And after I gave my presentation, they asked me some questions, and they asked me if I had a book. And I said, yeah, I do have a book. And I put up a copy of my book, and I talked about it. And one of the people that was on the Zoom call, this meeting, she goes, I am not lying to you. I was just recommended to buy that book by someone this past weekend. I'm not lying to you. Someone just recommended your book to me. So that was exciting.
That's a big booster. That's pretty cool. And I think our guest today will admit that that's a great calling card. So let's get into it. Let's bring her in there. I think today this is your guest, so that means Tag, you're it. You got the intro.
Right. I got it. And I just want to put this question out there that I know that the reason that most people poo-poo writing a book is because they don't know what to do afterwards. They think that the publishing process is going to be really difficult. Well, tune in and listen to the whole show today, because our guest is going to tell you that it's actually pretty easy with her help. So this is Judy Weintraub, and she is an entrepreneur, a business executive, and an attorney, multi-talented. In her legal practice, she represents small businesses as a mediator and arbitrator of business disputes. When Judy wrote her first book, it was titled The Essentials of Negotiating Effectively, and she tried self-publishing. After lots of revisions, her book finally looked reasonably decent. And Judy then was asked by several colleagues to help with their books. And in doing so, she learned easier, quicker ways to get books written and published. Judy founded SkillBites. It's a platform designed to help professionals get their books written and published. She offers a free ebook, which you'll find if you check out our pages and our blog. It's called Write a Book Easily. It contains great tips for expediting the writing process. And Judy also has a podcast called the SkillBites Show, which I've been on. And so I know it's awesome. And she provides on her show tips on book writing, publishing, and marketing. So definitely worth tuning in. Welcome our extremely talented guest today, Judy Weintraub from Pennsylvania. Great to have you with us, Judy.
Much, Jackie and Todd. I'm delighted to be here.
What's the weather like in
Pennsylvania?
What city are you in?
I'm in Valley Forge.
Valley Forge, that's right. Historical sites, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep, right on Valley Forge Park, National Historic Park. It's a bit overcast today, a little bit warm. It's in the high 80s, low 90s, something like that.
A little bit of humidity, I'm guessing.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but typical for August.
Yeah.
We're in another heat wave, I guess they're projecting for us. We've had a couple this summer, so it's been really quite the change, and I'm looking forward to a little less water.
Yeah, we've not had much rain, but we had some over the weekend, which was nice.
So Judy, I'm really curious. You wrote your first book how long ago?
I wrote it back in 2011.
So you've come 10 years forward and figured out ways not to do it. Is that the deal?
Ways not to do it, ways to do it much better, yes.
So have you considered rewriting that book?
I have considered writing other books, but not necessarily rewriting that one. But I've been busy publishing the works of my clients. And so I have written a few others, but not as many as I had originally intended. But that's fine, because I really enjoy helping people get their books done.
Cool.
What are some book topics you've been considering writing for yourself?
Well, my second book was actually on business partnerships. I work a lot with business owners when they're considering bringing in a partner, or maybe they've already brought in a partner. And as most business owners who have had partners know, there are about as many breakups with business partnerships as with marital partnerships.
It's like getting married. Oh yeah, I would.
Yep. But there are tricks. If you can go through the major causes of breakup up front, then you're going to be much better off and minimize that risk that your partnership's going to fail. So it's basically 2 checklists, one for the business issues that you need to address and one for the legal issues, so that you understand those legal issues when you get your partnership agreement from your law firm. Very practical.
So is that kind of your niche then, is business, or are you all over?
Business law is my niche in my legal practice.
No, I mean for your clients that you seem to attract.
No, it's basically business clients. So I've got clients in all different kinds of fields, marketing consultants, IT consultants, financial, healthcare, nutritionists, chiropractors, physical therapists, a wide range, real estate,
The full gamut, yeah.
coaching, right? Business coaches, life coaches.
Wow.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
what kind of books are they writing then? What are some of the books that you've helped to get out there from your clients?
Well, one of my clients was a chiropractor who wrote a book on eliminating headaches.
I need to read that book.
I think his book is Eliminate Your Headache in 30 Days. And
Get rid of Todd, right, Jackie? No.
Yes, step number 1.
It's a very practical book. It's not go to your chiropractor to get rid of your headache. It's nutritional information. It stretches and exercises and supplements. Stress, right. Ways to reduce your stress. And he did almost no marketing of his book. All he did was he put the cover on his website, and he has copies in his waiting room, and he's given it to local orthopedics. So the orthopedics can give it to their patients, and his patients can take a copy and give it to their colleagues or whatever. And he's found that he's gotten over 40 new clients in the 2 years since his book has come out.
Wow.
Well, that's the deal, right?
Exactly. That's the power of a book. When
it's a calling card. It's like a business card, or it gives you street cred, or
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some other reasons then to write a book, Judy?
Well, you've got the lead generation. As you know, Jackie, when you're a published author, you're much more likely to get good speaking engagements. And you can even raise your rate for those engagements, your speaking fee. You can get media exposure. You can get on radio and TV and podcasts when you're a published author. You can convert your book into a digital course. You can use your book as an opt-in that gets you people to go into your higher end programs. Maybe you've got a coaching program or a mastermind or training or some other program that is worth a lot more than the cost of your book. So there's so many different ways that you can benefit from having a book.
You know, Judy, it's my belief everybody has a book in them. And I'm sure you would agree that everybody, I hear it so many times, but I'm just me and I don't really have a story, or we all have life experience that if we share, somebody will be inspired by it or somebody will be able to relate to it. So I always tell people to go for it. But my question is, for those people out there that are listening today that consider having a book, what are the basic stages that a book goes through? What process does it go through? You put your thoughts and ideas on paper, and you first edit, second edit. I've heard so many. So maybe you could boil it down for us. And what are the steps that a good book will go through?
Well, I think before you get to the writing part, you need to figure out why you're writing the book. Because if you're writing a book because a whole lot of people have told you should write a book, that may not be a suitable reason for you to write your book. You ought to know what your objective is, what you're going to do with the book, how are you going to use it, and does it make sense with your overall strategy? If you're a business owner, does it fit in with your business strategy to be writing a book? Maybe your clientele are kids in their 20s and 30s, and they're more likely to watch videos. So then writing a book may not be the best vehicle for you. So you have to take into account your business strategies and your target market to figure out if this is really worth your time and effort and money to write your book at this time. Maybe it's a priority, but not high enough for you to take on at this time. So I think that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to figure out is what topic should you write your book on? Because not everything is a good topic. I've had people come to me with their ideas for writing books, and I'll say, well, why would you write a book on that? Because you're offering this other service, not the service, or not what you're writing your book on. So readers aren't necessarily going to know you do all this other stuff. So having the right topic is pretty important. And then having a good outline will really help you write your book a lot quicker. Once you get your thoughts down in your outline, you can just pick a point that you want to write on. It doesn't have to be in a particular order. When you're finished all the points in your outline, you can come back and put in appropriate transitions, etc. So there's lots of different things.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just going to ask, is it helpful to know how long you want your book to be, or is it better to just let it become an organic situation that will just happen at will? What do you think?
That's an excellent question. There are different types of books, and it somewhat depends on what you want your book to do. If you're looking principally to have your book be a tool for generating leads for your business, it doesn't have to be a long book. In fact, you're going to get your book out a lot quicker if you write a short book, and your reader will appreciate not having to wade through 200, 300 pages.
Right.
They can read a short book a lot quicker.
Well,
So
and I've heard recently that there's now this app that I can't remember, Blinkist, I think is what it was called, that actually boils down books into like a 15-minute audio segment. And that is an indication then as to what you're saying, that a lot of people don't want to spend a whole lot of time reading a long book. They want to just get to the meat of the situation and learn quickly.
That's right. In fact, one of the statistics that I heard when I was starting my SkillBites business was that the average nonfiction reader only gets through 18 pages before they put the book down and they don't come back to it because they get interested in something else. So why spend a ton of time writing a 200, 300 page book if nobody's going to read past about page 18 anyway?
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
However, if you're looking for speaking engagements, then the meeting planners, event planners who are looking to hire speakers are looking for things that are longer. They don't want a 30 page, 50 page, 70 page book. They want something with more weight to it. So then you ought to be in the 130, 150 page range at least.
Right.
So it really depends on what your aim is for your book as to what length you want it to be. And of course, you don't want to say more than you have to say.
Yeah. Is it realistic, Judy, to think that you'll make money from the direct sale of your book? Or do you believe that the profit comes through other opportunities like you've outlined?
I work with business owners who are principally looking to use their book as a marketing tool. They're not looking to sell lots of books. In general, most authors, not just business authors, but most authors do not sell more than about 100 copies of their book to their network.
Yeah.
And unless you're going to do a fair amount of marketing, which is going to cost money or take a lot of time, you're probably not going to get a whole lot more sales.
Or unless you're already a well-known personality, right?
Correct. Now, there are definite exceptions to that, but by and large, the vast majority do not sell enough copies to make their investment just from book sales.
Interesting.
So we figured out why. We've come up with a topic and we've created an outline and addressed the issue of who's this going to go through. what's some of the next steps? Is there, you create that outline, now do you start writing?
You, yes, you can start writing, but some people don't particularly like to write. So I have a lot of clients who prefer to speak than to write. And I suggest that they speak their book rather than write their book. It'll be a lot faster for them and a lot more enjoyable. So you can take that outline and convert all your topics into questions. And then you can just record yourself answering those questions. Or you can have somebody else ask you the questions, somebody preferably from your target audience, so that if your answer doesn't make sense to them, they can ask a follow-up question.
That's kind of
And
what
that way-
ghostwriters do, right? They
Ghostwriters
actually,
That as well. Mhm.
yeah.
Right,
That's
and
an
it's a lot less
interesting
expensive than hiring a ghostwriter.
Yeah, yeah.
So how many times should a person expect to re-edit and edit? I know my book went through, I don't know, 4 or 5 different edits, and I had different people looking at it and they had their different ideas, and oh my gosh, it was a forever process. It was like, seemed like it takes forever, but I listened to some of your podcasts this morning and some of your ideas, and that's pretty typical. Is that right?
Well, it really depends. Some authors are just kind of tired of their book after the second or third edit, and they'll just stop there. And others want to make it as perfect as possible.
It's never done, though. Is that what you're saying?
It actually, I suggest that you get it out there, because not every book, in fact, most books are not perfect. And if you wait for yours to be perfect, you're just delaying getting it out there.
Yeah,
if you get your book out there and it's reasonably good, then when someone tells you, oh, I found a typo on page 42, it's easy enough to correct that and re-upload it, and then it's fixed going forward.
Well, I guess that was part of my reason for the question that I asked you right at the beginning of the show. And what I gathered is well, that book's done and it's gone. I have new stuff now that I would like to write about.
Okay, that's great.
No, I mean you. That's what I gathered from you. And instead of going back and re-editing your book, you instantly said, no, I've got a new book cooking, is what I.
Well, you can go back to your old book, or you can just let it go and go on to your new works. I do highly recommend using a professional editor. I've had some of my authors who have decided that they didn't want to spend the money on the editing service because they had their friend who's an English teacher edit their book, or a secretary who's really good at writing edit their book. And I look at it and I think, no, this is not professionally edited.
Yeah, I
Because
think
a lot of those people will just look for grammar and spelling, but they won't look for consistency of content and message, right? That's the most important part, I think, of editing.
You're absolutely right. And the problem, of course, is you want this book to heighten your credibility, right? You want it to make you be the expert and to have people want to use your services. But if your book doesn't read that well, then it's going to diminish your credibility instead of making it greater. So that professional editor can polish it up for you. And, again, it might not be as perfect as if you edited it 12 times, but
But I do think that's something that most people don't think about when they're considering writing a book, is it's not just what you have to say, but it's like a good story. If you're telling a story and it's all broken up, and then you add all these different characters in that have no seeming purpose to them or whatever, the reader or the listener just gets confused and they stop reading or listening. And so a book has to be the same way. It's got to flow, right? There has to be a consistent reason for why you're going into this next chapter or this next thought process or whatever. And I think a lot of people probably ignore that and just think about the spelling and the grammar part of it.
Yeah, and there's
which
a
is
lot
only
of
like
people,
50%.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how important story is for books. You could be writing a business book and it can be so dry that nobody would want to read it. Well, you can throw in some stories and case studies and things and make it a lot easier for your reader to read and enjoy.
Yeah, stories help anchor that point and relate to people. I think that's true with the speech. I'm sure it's true with the book, and yeah, that's how you talk to people.
So then, Judy, why do you think most people don't go ahead and write a book? Why did they finally come to you and go, I got to get this down? What has kept them from doing it for so long in your experience?
Well, I think a lot of my clients didn't realize that there's a way to write a book that's not as painful. If you know the steps to getting your book done, it will make it a lot easier for you. And that's what the ebook does that I'm offering here. It's a nice little roadmap of steps to take to make it so much easier for you to get your book done.
And that's
So what haven't we talked
Write a
about?
Book Easily, right? Write a Book Easily is the name.
Write a book.
And you can find that link on www.lifemasteryradio.net or go to your website, SkillBites. That's skill, SkillBites.net. And you'll find Judy there. So what else are we missing? What else is in your ebook that we might not have talked about?
Well, one of the issues with putting your book up on Amazon is that Amazon will tell you how many people have bought your book, but they will not tell you who has bought your book.
Unless you get a comment, right? Unless somebody writes something.
Somebody might email you and say, oh, I read your book and I really liked it, or didn't like it, or whatever, and you might hear from them that way. But Amazon's not going to tell you who that is. And probably maybe 1% of authors, of readers actually do that.
Yeah.
So if you want to find out who's reading your book, you need to put in an enticing bribe in your book to get people to give you their contact information.
Wow.
Some
So
kind
like
of
what?
freebie. Well, it could be a checklist or an assessment form or a discount or a one-on-one session or something that your audience is likely to want. Could be another ebook or a white paper or an article. There's a whole host of things that you could do. But if you create this freebie, have a landing page for it, and put the link in your book where they go to the landing page, they give you their name and email address in order to download whatever it is or schedule an appointment or whatever, then you'll find out who's reading your book and who's more interested in doing business.
That's a brilliant idea. I can see the gears turning in Jackie's head already.
It reminds me of some of those puzzles that you would get in magazines when you were a kid. That the first page would say, there's a hidden toothpick somewhere in this edition, like a picture of a toothpick. And when you found the page of the toothpick was on, you sent in a card or you called a number or something like that and said, it's on page 27. And then you would get some sort of prize. So it sounds a little bit like that. That's where my mind went. But I think that's a great idea, because then you know that not only has someone purchased it, but now they've actually gotten to a point in the book, they've read that far to get to this opportunity to get more from you. I think that's
right.
Cool.
And now they're not just a lead, they are a hot lead because they've reached out and they wanted something from you.
And if that's the purpose of your book, then there you go. You've just reached.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And frankly, you should have more than one. You want one early in the book within those first 18 pages in case they lost it.
Yeah.
Maybe one in the middle and one at the end.
It's a great idea. So your ebook has those kinds of tips in it. Is there another one that comes to mind that you could share? These are interesting.
Well, I guess what I'd like to share is the importance of doing things right. Because again, you want your book to reflect well on you. And so you need a good cover. And you might know a graphic artist who could do you a cover, but there's a different art form to cover design than just regular graphic arts. Plus, you have to have your cover meet the printer specifications. And not all graphic artists are fully familiar with printer specifications. I mean, Amazon specifications are about 65 pages. You don't want to have to wade through those to find out if you've met all those specs. So you want to hire somebody who's familiar with the requirements and who's got a good reputation as a cover designer. Likewise with your layout design. If it isn't laid out professionally like a book, then that's going to detract from your reputation. Putting your book up on Amazon, it's free to do that. You can fill out the form yourself, but there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. I've had authors come to me and say, nobody can find my book. What's going on here? Well, one author whose book was he had a title that was trademarked. He had put the TM symbol with his title. Well, nobody could find it because when they were doing the search, they didn't include the TM symbol.
Oh, no.
And like, okay, so we took that off. He hadn't put in any keywords because the keyword portion of the form on Amazon said it was optional, so he skipped it. Like, well, people doing searches, might have come up with your book, but you didn't put any keywords in.
Yeah, there's nothing to reference. Wow, that's amazing.
Right. So there's so many ways to do it wrong that if you want your book, you put in all this effort to write your book and you want it to work for you, then you need to hire somebody who knows what to do, or you've got to take the time to figure it all out properly.
So what makes a person decide to hire somebody? Obviously, it's the expertise and the knowledge, somebody like yourself. So you really don't help people write their books, is that right?
I do help them with the writing as well. I have book coaching services that I offer. I've had a number of clients use me for that. Some just use me to help them create the outline, hold them accountable. Others will use me for
you just said something that's key, and that's the accountability piece. That's huge in when somebody's trying to write a book, is checking in with somebody on a regular basis to see their progress. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, it's checking in with them to see their progress, but also without that check-in, the chances are they wouldn't be raising the issues that they're confronting. Maybe they're trying to figure out if a particular topic belongs in their book, or if it should go in one place versus another place, and we can talk about that, and we can figure out ways that they can get their book done with getting over those hurdles.
Right.
And they come up all the time, and yet unless somebody checks in with them, they're going to struggle with them. They don't take the initiative to call and say, okay, I've got this issue, what would you recommend?
So when it goes back then to a cover, Judy, is that something that you also help them with, or do you have like design teams or whatever for that particular?
Right. Well, the reason why I created my SkillBites company was to make it easy, to be a one-stop shop to get it all done. So from the writing side as well as the publishing side, we can handle all of the services that you might need, whether it's cover design or editing or layout or getting it up on Amazon, getting it as an ebook or print book, getting print, and even doing some of the marketing. Because marketing is a pretty important element as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who self-publish don't realize that means they'll do all the marketing, right?
Well, even traditional publishers do very little marketing. In fact, you can't really get a traditional publisher unless you have a marketing strategy and a sizable network that the publisher is going to recognize that you're going to be able to sell a lot of copies of your book.
Yeah, that's a big issue. Huh. Interesting.
So what do you tell people to do? What are some ways they can market their book?
Well, there's a lot of free ways you can market your book. For instance, in your email signature, you can put down author of and the title of your book and a link to where they the person receiving your email can find your book. You can do posts on social media and email campaigns, and there's a whole host of ways that you can use free techniques. You can seek getting on different podcasts and writing guest blog posts and things like that. And then there's ways that are a bit more expensive, PR campaigns, and hire somebody to run social media ads for you or social media campaigns. There's a ton of different ways. It just depends on how much time you want to spend and your budget if you don't want to be spending your own time because you want to hire somebody who knows how to do that stuff and it's not something that you're particularly good at or desire to do.
Yeah. Now, is your process based on a print on demand situation? Is that how your
Yes.
process works? Okay.
I've had a couple authors who have decided to get cheaper copies of their book by ordering 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 at a time. I don't know why. It's marginally cheaper. It's not significantly less expensive. You've got to then inventory, store all those books. And one of my authors, who's now written 3 books through me, his first book, he did that and had 1,000 copies made. And there were 2 or 3 typos in his book. And he was stuck with all those copies because he didn't want to sell copies knowing that there were those typos there. So he corrected the typos and had to order more books, but then he ordered them on a print on demand basis rather than in bulk.
Yeah. Wow. So how many people write a next book or a next book? Because my experience has been that you kind of get this bug for it. Once that first book is done, you feel like
that's because you're a writer, Jackie.
I got to do it again. Well, I know. So are there people that don't do another book where they, or what do most of your clients do, Judy?
I would say that about 1/3 of my clients go on to write multiple books, especially if you're writing the short books. Writing multiple books is a great strategy because ultimately, if you want, you can then sell the bundle, right? And that way it's just like having your longer book, but you've had these individual books out there working for you until you've gotten the series done.
Yeah. And
when you have a bundle, it's actually, you get more readers because you offer a discounted price, right? So everybody likes getting a bundle for less than they would if they paid for all the individual books.
Right.
Amazing stuff, Judy. So you have some programs. Entice us a little bit about your programs that help people. What are they? How do they work? And you have a couple coming up, I think. Maybe entice us.
Yes. I have a giveaway program coming up in October where you have access to resources on leveraging your book. So the link I believe I've given to Jackie for that, you can sign up in probably about 3 or 4 weeks from now for that. And you'll have access to free resources from experts on different ways that you can leverage your book. I will also be having a 5-day challenge where you can figure out what are the ways that you want to use your book, because again, that's one of your first steps. Think about how you're going to use your book, and that will help you figure out what the right topic is that you should write on.
Yeah, like you talked about already. Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah. And then I have a fast track your book program to help people get their books written. You get a draft of your book written in about 6 weeks.
Wow. Nice.
So for if that's a high priority for you, that you really want to get your book written and out there quickly, that program will be coming up in early December.
So fast track 6 weeks. How much time would, if I was interested in that, how much time would I have to spend per week?
It's an hour-and-a-half session once a week. And then there's probably in the 3 to 4 hours of work for most of the weeks, followed by a 3-day writing weekend.
Huh?
So it's 6 weeks plus the 3-day writing weekend. So you'll have everything all set and you'll have started writing before that weekend. And then you should be able to have your draft done for a short book. I'm not talking about a 300 pager, but you know, your 80, 100, 120 page book, you should be able to be either done or substantially done by the end of that weekend.
Now, is this process the same if someone wants to write a fictional book, or do you work with anybody that does fiction?
I work exclusively with nonfiction, although I've published 3 or 4 novels and 3 or 4 children's books from clients of mine who say, could you please help my neighbor, my cousin, you know, my aunt, whatever, who has this book and needs to get it out. Since I'm not doing any part of the writing, the editing and the layout and stuff I can handle, but I don't help people with their fiction books.
Right.
That's my expertise.
It's a whole different animal, huh?
It is. Yeah.
So your niche is self-help, improvement, that those type of books.
It's business books, right? And I mean, I'm not doing each of the services. I have editors and layout designers and cover designers who have much more specialized expertise that I've vetted over the course of the last 10 years,
Right.
to know that these are high quality people.
So if anybody listening today now says, oh my gosh, I've got this book in me, I have to get this out. Now I'm convinced, Judy's totally convinced me. What should they do? What could they do today to get that process started for them and stop the procrastination? What would you suggest they could do today?
Well, for one thing, if they go to my website, the SkillBites.net website, there's a tab called Get Me Started. So you can fill that out and we'll set up a brief call and I can talk to you about what is it that's causing you to procrastinate. Maybe I can help you get a jump on that. Or you can email me, Judy@SkillBites.net. If you want to get started, I would start with trying to figure out what are you going to do with the book once it's written? Because if it's not going to fit in with your strategy, if it's not a high priority for you, I would actually recommend that you shelve it until it is a high priority. It's going to be too frustrating and it's going to take a long time if it's not a high priority. And by the time you've written your book, it may not even be relevant for you anymore.
That's fascinating that you start off with that, because that's key. I mean, I can just imagine how many books have been started out there and then squirrel, you know,
it's like quilts. I have 100 quilts that I've started and never finished.
Right?
The books.
I mean, that is so that's just like you'd think that was so key, Judy, but it's brilliant to get people to think about that right out of the gate.
Yeah, I've got people who come to me and say, I've gotten this book 2/3 of the way done 20 years ago. I want to get it done because I've gotten this far. It's like, well, why would you want to spend more time on a book that's no longer going to be relevant to your needs?
Yeah.
Why not focus on getting one done that's really going to help you?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened to me. You know, I started a book years ago and it was going to be for a very specific purpose. And then when I took on some leadership opportunities through Toastmasters International, and for 4 years I spent doing that, I didn't have time to write. At the end of that 4 years, I realized actually my message is different now. It's not the same book that I could write. Now I have better experience to talk about something else. Yeah. So that is really important. So to me, Judy, it sounds like if you're going to start, you've got to finish it in a short period of time. Otherwise, the longer you wait to do it, or the longer you set it aside and wait, the less relevant that becomes because you're less motivated to do it. So during this pandemic, did you have a lot of people coming to you and saying, I'm going to write this book? I'm at home, got nothing else to do.
Yep, I did have a number of people coming to me, and I do have 2 self-help books as well, self-help courses that people can take that will walk people through how to get a book done, and those are on my website as well. But it's pretty important to set a timeline for yourself for writing the book so that you
A
can.
by when date? Is that what you're saying? By when?
Well, by when and how much you're going to get done to get there. Say you want to write a 100-page book and you want to have it done in 6 months. Figure that you're going to need a month to do some of the background work, figuring out who your target audience is and doing some research to confirm that your topic is one that's desired by your target audience. Then you have 5 months to write 100 pages. Well, that's 20 pages a month, right? So how are you going to write 20 pages in a month? Maybe you write 4 pages a week. How long does it take you to write 4 pages? So you can break it down so you know what you have to get done by when in order to get your book done by your deadline.
And anchoring that with how committed am I to doing this, right? I mean,
right. If it turns out that it comes down to you're having to work 3 hours a week and you cannot find 3 hours in your week to devote to writing your book, then you know that it's not the right book for you to write.
Or you find those 3 hours because you're committed to writing this book.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. That's a great way to approach it, Judy. I think that's just brilliant. Oh my goodness, ladies, it looks like we only have about 4 minutes left. And Judy, I got to ask you, did you have a blast today?
This was great. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Jackie and I just have an absolute blast doing this every Tuesday. Are we missing anything, Judy? What are we missing? What would be your last parting shot to our listeners about getting that book that's in them out of them?
Well, as you mentioned, everybody has a book, but I'd go back to saying, don't spend a lot of time on a book that isn't a high priority for you and isn't going to help.
That's key. That's brilliant. Yeah.
I don't want to help people get something done that's not going to work for them. Right. So I spend time initially making sure that the topic is congruent with the goals that they have.
So what you're saying then too is, I mean, I go to a lot of networking meetings where people will say, you know, get your book done. You got to get a book out there. It's important for your business to have a book, which is true. But if that's the only thing motivating you to do it, it's probably not the best motivation. Is that what you believe?
Well, you should explore it. It might be that it's what you should do. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday who was saying everybody tells him he should have a podcast, but he didn't like the idea of having a podcast. Well, if it's not something you want to do, then don't do it.
Don't do it.
Everybody told you. But on the other hand, he started talking to some of his target audience about, do you guys listen to podcasts? Oh yeah, we love podcasts. Well, then he's got to think, well, maybe I need to hire somebody to teach me so that I find that it's not as distasteful for me. If it's truly going to help my target audience, then maybe I should do that. Same type of thing with the book.
Cool.
Oh my goodness, Judy, thank you so much for showing up as you today. Well, I'll say it again. I had a blast. I learned a lot and amazing stuff, and continue on with your great work because people are getting their messages out there utilizing your services. So that's really cool.
Well, thanks. And hope you guys have a groovy rest of your day.
Thanks. And if you run into anybody who wants to do a podcast, Judy, tell them about Contact Talk Radio.
We'll show you how not to do it. No, I'm just kidding. Jackie, any takeaways? I can see gears turning and wheels grinding, and maybe it's the other way around. Gears grinding.
I actually have a children's book that's written. It just needs to be taken to the next step. And I
know. In reviewing for today, that book that's in me that I've been thinking about for a couple of years now, it just keeps grinding away. And I think of different approaches and different avenues. And then, Judy, I just walk away and I won't think about it again until Jackie asks me about it. The timing might not just be right.
Yeah, it'll happen.
No, thank you, Judy, for being here today.
Thanks again, Judy. Thanks, Jackie. Go to our website, check out today's show page, link there, ebook, and get that book started from out of you today. Lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice, and choose to get that book out of you. Bye-bye for now.